Let's cut across right now to the Congress, because we did pose a question right in the beginning of the show. Can Congress emerge as the X factor in this election? But that doesn't quite augur well for the Congress. Will the Congress witness a revival, viewers? 2020, the Congress was sitting at merely a paltry 4% vote share. Will it rise above that? Is there a conflict in the state leadership along with the local leaders? Because that's seemingly coming to the fore. Does the Congress have very little to offer but just the Sheila Dixit legacy? And coming off the Maharashtra-Haryana loss, will that spill over, further dent the Congress's prospects in the national capital? Why we call it the X factor this election years is because if the Congress's vote share rises from over 4% and goes up to, say, a 10%, and you see a small revival of the Congress, it will come at the cost of the Aam Aadmi Party and will only benefit the BJP. The BJP wants exactly that. If it falls less than 4%, then it's advantage the Aam Aadmi Party, which could go beyond the 53% if it holds on to its own vote share and adds of the one lost by the Congress. All right, joining me for more on this is Sandeep Dikshit. He is going to take on Arvind Kejriwal head-on from the constituency of New Delhi. Mr. Dikshit, dates are out, yet the Congress looks far from prepared. And why I say that, Mr. Dikshit, is only 35 candidates announced. Your top leadership is not on the ground. What's going on, sir?
Oh yes. Normally they give about 35-40 days, but in the recent past we've seen that not that many days are available in the declaration of results, which is why Congress had declared almost 48-50 seats, almost about 20 days ahead. Not only that, we'd also started making our preparations, doing our agenda, getting our manifesto together, conversing and talking to people, having our worker meetings for a fairly long time before the elections began. And if you will see, in almost about 50 or 45 to 50 of these constituencies, our campaigns are on the ground. In the places where we don't have candidates as yet, our party is very, very active. So I think we are fairly well prepared to get into this election.
Well, on the contrary, Mr. Dikshit, word is that you're finding it difficult to actually find candidates to fight the election. Even some of the known leaders, are not happy, but practically forced into fighting this election in a twisted way, Mr. Dikshit. Do you believe that the Congress has become the X factor? If you rise a little of 4% vote share of 2020, it will be a vote cutter and will only help the BJP. You've actually been called the team B of the BJP by the Aam Aadmi Party.
No, not really. See, I can understand. Historically, last two elections we've not been there. But then there have been large number of elections in India that have really thrown great surprises. 2013 in Delhi was a surprise. 1983, N.T. Ramarao coming out of nowhere in Andhra Pradesh was a surprise. Suddenly, Karnataka BJP Ramakrishna Hegde winning elections in Karnataka in 1983 was a surprise. So surprises happen, especially when there is some very, very strong anti-incumbency. Against the Aam Aadmi Party, the anti-incumbency is so severe that voters are desperately looking for an alternative. And after almost 10 years, especially in the last 2-3 years, they're now finding a very, very credible, a very warm and an acceptable alternative in the Congress. So I think a very large number of voters from Aam Aadmi will come back to us. And I must also put it, there is a fair amount of voters who normally vote for BJP, who also want development. They remember the Delhi that Sheila ji had built. And in many of them, they believe that the BJP is not an adequate replacement for Aam Aadmi Party or Congress, because it's not really had a good record of governance when it was ruling the MCD. And even at the national level, their agencies like the DDA, the police and the NDMC and others didn't really put up any decent performance in Delhi. So I think we are getting voters from both sides. We are actually not really a vote cutter. We are somebody who's taking a lot of positive votes coming from both these parties onto our bandwagon.
Well, if you end up doing that, Mr. Dikshit, you will script electoral history that hasn't happened in the longest, or, as far as public memory goes. But away from all of that, Mr. Dikshit, when you come down to the ground realities, the question is that the Congress has little to offer than your mother's legacy, which was years ago. People have forgotten about it. And you're trying to leverage an anti-incumbency that the BJP has a better chance to milk. They haven't seen power in Delhi for 26 years. So why not them?
Look, this anti-incumbency of 25 years is an anti-incumbency of the last 10 years. Okay, and people are not talking of BJP as putting up any kind of a governance model in Delhi. I mean, they've recently been booted out of the MCD. If they really had any capacity, they have kind of put in a fair amount of decent work there. So people are looking for alternatives. You know, I can understand that Congress was not there. I can understand Congress was weak. I can understand, you know, that we were not really in a position where we could have attracted people. And for some reason, people did not take us that seriously in the last 8 or 10 years. But the anti-incumbency is also a longing for a Delhi that Congress built. And if the longing is for a Delhi that Congress built, the natural party that people will go to, people who have this yearning for them, will be the International Congress and not the Bharatiya Janata Party.
But Mr. Dikshit, you don't have a face as a chief ministerial candidate. You don't have enough candidates to actually field them. Some of your candidates are literally being forced to fight. And above all else, there is a clear conflict between the central leadership and the state leadership, where the top leadership seemingly believes that going all in could only but help the BJP. And I'll give you an example. You know, nobody from the top leadership was present when schemes from the Congress were declared for Delhi. And in Haryana, in Maharashtra, you had all of them, Mr. Kharge, Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi. The difference is very visible, Mr. Dikshit.
Yeah, okay, let me come to these points. See, first of all, having a face is not that important. Congress, in a large number of elections, does not bring in a face. I mean, BJP hasn't had a face in the last 2 or 3 elections. And remember what happened to them when they had a face in Kiran Bedi ji in 2015. Aam Aadmi Party has to have a face because they have only one person. Everybody else is irrelevant in the Aam Aadmi Party. And also, almost being the incumbent chief minister, I mean, he himself has said that Atishi ji is a temporary CM, so they have only one face. But having a face or not having a face is sometimes an advantage and sometimes a disadvantage. For example, I think having Arvind Kejriwal as the face of Aam Aadmi Party is going to be a disadvantage for Aam Aadmi Party, because he's a very unpopular leader today. So it kind of works both ways. It's not that having a face will... There have been cases in which parties have won when they have not really put on a face. Your second point, whether we've been able to put up candidates in all 70 or not, we have put up about 45 to 50. Congress has never been in the habit, traditionally, whether it's right or wrong is anybody's choice to take. We've not really been in the business of declaring our candidates too early. Some parties do that. Congress has never been in the practice of doing that. And in that sense also, BJP is probably also announced just about 25-30. We have about 20-25 seats left. The process of selecting people there is going on. And I'll tell you, if the unfortunate incident of Dr. Manmohan Singh ji having passed away had not happened, perhaps much of this would have already happened. We would have declared many of our promises, and many of our candidate lists would also have come out by now.
You know, Mr. Dikshit, this is the second time you've skirted my question on the top leadership not being on the same page with the state leadership, but I'm going to let it rest. I'm going to ask you one quick question before I let you go, Mr. Dikshit. And that stems from what the election commissioner said today. He went into great detail to suggest and say and ally all fares that have been coming in on the EVMs and the voting list. Both the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress have raised multiple issues on either the voter list as well as the EVMs. Now, your party in Maharashtra and Haryana have contested the EVMs and the functioning of how the election was conducted. Do you believe that this will be a free and fair election?
Look, whether the arguments of the Election Commission are right or wrong are not going to that. Fact is, there is very little trust in a large number of people on the EVM system. Many instances have come out. There have been cases where people have said that the areas voted for a particular party, results were very, very opposite to that. I mean, I was very surprised. There was a case where a village in Maharashtra said that they voted Congress. Congress did not get a single vote there. They decided to do a mock polling, and mock polling anybody can do. That mock polling was banned by the imposition of curfew by the state government. I mean, why? I mean, mock polling is not an illegal exercise. I suppose it was done because party there was scared that a mock polling might actually expose the fact that the polling itself was not true to what people said. Since the polling never took place, we cannot come to a definite answer. But there are a large number of instances where Election Commission is not able to satisfy what people's basic feeling is that it's not a fair election. So I think in that sense, there is no problem in going back to manual balloting. I've been part of a manual balloting process, and it's not that complicated. The counting just takes about a little more time.
For the very reason, because it was so complicated and easy to rig, is why we moved to the EVMs, but that's a topic of debate on another day. I thank you for joining us, Mr. Dikshit. Good luck, and may the best party win.